Yo, what's going on? Today, I'm going to be going over my results in the Grand Challenge last November. Been a little over a month since then, but this was my first Grand Challenge. Technically, I actually entered the one in September, but I was only able to play 3 matches because I was really busy. So this is technically my first actual one where I actually was able to compete. And I actually did really good, at least based on what I was aiming for, what my goal was. I was really just hoping to maybe get at best top 500, and I exceeded that expectation. I got 232 globally, and I found out that I actually got top 100 NA, North America. I believe it was 74th, and I got that with this rating of 1648. I don't know what my record was. I wasn't really keeping track. I started out really good. In my first like 15 matches, I was like 12-3 or something. Even if like from that point in the tournament I like fell off, I still would have been very happy with how I played, because at that point my rating was like 1630, 1638. This was the team I was using. One thing I did was I put Protect in the first slot for every single Pokemon, and I gave every Pokemon Protect, even Incineroar, who normally doesn't run Protect. I gave Protect because it's so important with Perish Trap or Perish Song. You need to be able to stall out those 3 turns for Perish Song. And then having it in the first slot means if I run out of time, don't click a move in time, it just automatically uses Protect. So our Chaladon, standard, Terra Electric, Electro Shot, Power Herb, Sturdy set. You just want to one-shot stuff with Electro Shot. You can always survive at least 1 attack. Goldengos, if they're not bulky, 100% KO. If they just have like a little bit of bulk, then it's like a roll whether it will kill. And the Goldengos can EV train to always survive this Electro Shot. Only like 2 Goldengos throughout the entire tournament actually survived a Terra Electric Electro Shot, which is super important because of how hard Goldengo counters Perish Song and Shadow Tag. It's a ghost type, so it can't be trapped by Shadow Tag, and its ability makes it immune to Perish Song. It's important that I have ways to kill it without Perish Song. So that's Electro Shot, that is Knockoff from Incineroar, and that is Headlong Rush from Ursaluna. It felt like 75% of teams had a Goldengo. It was crazy. Gothitelle, very standard. I was using Terra Water for a lot of the training, but I changed it to Terra Dark to better deal with Annihilape's Rage Fist because of just how many Annihilapes I was running into, like every team. Normal Psychic as just an attacking move, a lot of fighting types. Fake Out, super important to stall a turn, and then Trick Room, helping with Ursaluna, countering those like super fast teams and just having better positioning for the rest of the team. So next, pretty much the most important Pokemon on the team that I was bringing to every game was Politoed. It sets up Rain for our Chaladon, which also helps Amoonguss survive fire attacks and makes it so Torkoal and like Trick Room can't just run over the team. And then it also is my only source of Perish Song. So Politoed and Gothitelle is a great lead to trap the opponent's Pokemon and then hopefully KO them both with Perish Song while I fake out one of them. And then Politoed and our Chaladon is also great. But what I actually like doing is our Chaladon and then like Amoonguss or Incineroar or maybe even Gothitelle, so that I can support the Archaladon at the beginning. And then after I've used my Power Herb with Electro Shot, I can then switch into Politoed with my other slot, set up the Rain, and then just click Electro Shot again when they don't expect it. So Politoed, Weather Ball for some strong stab when the Rain is up. Perish Song, super important for comboing with Gothitelle. And then Encore, which actually ended up being like super helpful for like just guaranteeing late games, like if somebody clicks Fake Out. Terra Grass to deal with Spore, survive electric type attacks, or grass type attacks that would normally one-shot Politoed. Keeping Politoed alive for as long as possible is like the most important Pokemon to keep alive. Politoed, setting up that Rain is super important, so you want to keep it alive so that you can switch it out and then switch it back in to set up Rain later. And then also keeping it alive so maybe you can click another Perish Song. Super important to keep in mind. So that's why Leftovers is such a great item on Politoed, because it's very common where I'll have games where I get like 6 turns of Leftovers recovery, you know? Incineroar, this is a safety goggles set. to help with Amoonguss, because Amoonguss kind of just underspeeds everything in Trick Room. We can put everything to sleep except for Ursaluna, another great addition, because Kingdra just gets put to sleep, but Ursaluna, once it gets burned, it can't be statused by anything else because it's already statused. So this gives me more help for Amoonguss. Knockoff is my only attacking move, but it actually ended up like being the only attacking move I needed, because with the rain like always being set up, Flare Blitz would be doing half damage, and I don't need U-turn because I have Parting Shot, which is super important. Cycling Intimidate, Fake Out, and Parting Shot is just so important for this this whole Perish Trap strategy. You weaken the opponent's Pokemon with Intimidate and Parting Shot, and then you just keep them trapped in doing like no damage, and then you can just keep that like one of the weakened Pokemon alive for like the entire battle and just knock out whoever's next to it, as long as you keep Gothitelle alive and keep that Shadow Tag active. And Incineroar is so important for being able to do that. And so that's one way that Shadow Tag can be insanely useful without even needing Perish Song. But yes, Protect on Incineroar, that definitely caught some people off guard. Next, Ursaluna, super important for matchups where Archaludon like isn't good, or like just Trick Room looks really strong, or if like I can't Perish Song, I have an alternative way to knock out opponents. Just a very standard set. Biggest difference is Shadow Claw instead of Earthquake. I do have Protect on every Pokemon, but in my testing, I found that Shadow Claw was actually super important for Annihilate. I know I've already mentioned like 3 different ways of countering Annihilate, but this came in handy. Terrago Shadow Claw with Guts will one-shot Annihilate, and it actually did matter like twice. Also, Sinistra is immune to Facade and resists Headlong Rush. Shadow Claw just easily one-shots it. So Ursaluna was great. Terraghost also helped a lot with like Sneaslers and just fighting types in general. Amoonguss, super important in certain matchups as well, especially with Terra Fairy, because Choice Band Dragonite is actually a menace against this team. Oh, same with Dragapult. Those Dragon Darts, just Choice Band, maybe even Life Orb. Dragapult kind of just decimates this team. They can't intimidate it. Nothing resists it. So having Terra Fairy on this Amoonguss was super important. Eject button allows me to, if I just protected with my Gothitelle, I can switch Gothitelle into Amoonguss so that the opponent attacks it, and then it switches back into Gothitelle to maintain the Shadow Tag, and then I can protect Gothitelle the next turn while the opponent's ain't to Perish Song. So that actually came into play multiple times. Spore, just an amazing move. Rage Powder to keep other Pokemon safe, like Archaludon, Ursaluna, or Gothitelle. If I need to maintain Shadow Tag, I don't have Protect. And then Sludge Bomb as my source of damage, which actually I ended up doing a good amount of damage with the Amoonguss. Having Sludge Bomb as the one attack move is great, because Rillaboom is also kind of a problem with U-turn and Fake Out. So having Sludge Bomb was great to hit those Rillabooms. And yeah, that was the team I used. Now let's get into the actual battles. Okay, so this match, I'm going up against a Rain team. I fought so many Rain teams during this Grand Challenge. It was like every other team was Pelipper, Archaludon, Basculegion. Looking at his team, he has no Electro Shot resist except for Archaludon, but that thing has a low special defense. And since I'm max speed, I know that I will either outspeed him or speed tie, but most likely outspeed, because these Rain teams are like always Assault Vest. Archaludon, never max speed. My Archaludon looks amazing here, so I'm just thinking I want to lead Archaludon and I want to protect it. So I decided to lead Archaludon and Amoonguss with Gothitelle and Politoed in the back, so that I can hopefully pick up 2 quick knockouts and then finish the game off with a Perish Trap. So my opponent leads Pelipper and Dragonite. It's looking pretty safe for my Archaludon to just click Electro Shot. I don't even need to Terra, because I can just Rage Powder with the Amoonguss to protect my Archaludon from the Dragonite's attack. And since I'm worried about Choice Band Outrage, I decide to Terra Fairy Rage Powder, since I expect the Dragonite to be Adamant with max speed, which hits like 132 speed, I believe, which is faster than even max speed Timid Pelipper. So I'm like, okay, if Dragonite's attacking here, it's going to go before Pelipper. So if it's going for an Outrage or a Scale Shot, that'll be redirected into my Amoonguss and will do no damage. which means I also would keep intact my eject button. But we see that my Archaludon moves first, so I know there's no choice scarfs. We actually see that the Pelipper has a focus sash, and the Dragonite goes for Tailwind. Wasn't expecting that. I was actually expecting Pelipper to be the one clicking Tailwind. So then Pelipper uses Hurricane into my Amoonguss, but because of my eject button, that gives me a free switch out to my Gothitelle. That way I can trap the Pelipper and Dragonite in here, because neither of them can. Now that I know that this Dragonite is not choice band, it's not as threatening, and I also expect it to be the multi-scale, the multi-scale set, so no inner focus, so I can fake out it. Now right here, they just set up Tailwind, so they're both faster than my Archaludon, or they both should be. The obvious play, from my opponent's point of view, is I'm gonna fake out the Pelipper, because Pelipper has 1 health, and that's the only way that I can attack before it. I decide not to make that play, because I know that the Pelipper was Focus Sash, and it's very common for Focus Sash Pelippers to be Terra Ghost. And this would actually be a great opportunity for them to Terra Ghost here, be immune to that fake out, and then just double up into my Archaludon. And my Archaludon is so important just because of how good it is into the rest of their team. So I'm not going to make that play. And as I predicted, they do Terra Ghost the Pelipper, and they actually protect the Dragonite, probably because they were worried about me faking out the Dragonite. And then they protect the Pelipper, which I was initially confused about. I was like, why did you Terra and then protect? What is the point of that? Why not just protect and then Terra the next turn? But then I realized, since they're Terra Ghost, they can now switch out of my Shadow Tag. I'm no longer trapping them. But now I get the Trick Room up. And since they just set up Tailwind, see, the first turn, my Archaludon was faster than both of their Pokemon. But they set up Tailwind, so now both of them are faster than my Archaludon. So now with the Trick Room up, now my Archaludon is back to being faster than both of them until their Tailwind runs out. And my Gothitelle, definitely, my Gothitelle is the fastest thing on the field now. So they just protected both. This seems like a pretty easy Electro Shot into the Dragonite slot. And then I was thinking about Psychicking the Pelipper, but then I realized that they just Terra Ghosted and protected to get immune to Shadow Tag. It's probably because they want to switch out this turn. So I did not target the Pelipper, and I remembered that since Gothitelle goes first, it'll break the multi-scale, which will allow my Archaludon to KO this Dragonite, which I know is not going to protect because it just used Protect. And this turn goes amazing. They don't do any damage to me. I knock out the Dragonite. If I had just Electro-Shotted or even Terra Electro-Shot that Dragonite, even though I would have been at +3 special attack, it would not have killed. I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that because of multi-scale, it would have lived. So that Psychic was super important. So now I have a +3 Archaludon. They sent out King Gambit. Archaludon, their Archaludon is probably Assault Vest, so I don't have to worry about the Archaludon protecting. So I decided to double up into it, because I'm worried about their King Gambit using Protect here. So I hit the Psychic. It does barely any damage, and it gets Stamina, so I'm like, okay, yeah, this is definitely Assault Vest. And then a +3 Dragon Pulse doesn't KO. Are you kidding me? Like, what? And then they one-shot me with Kowtow Cleave. But at this point, they have a 1 health Pelipper, a 1 health Archaludon, and a King Gambit, who I find out is Life Orb. I actually think without Life Orb, it doesn't KO. With Black Glasses, it would KO though. So now they body press me, and they're at +2 defense because I hit them twice. Even if that would have knocked out, my Sturdy would have made me live. And then now I can either send out Politoed or Amoonguss, but the rain is about to end. So I don't want to send in Politoed. And the Trick Room is still up. Now, Tailwind just ended, but there's 2 more turns of Trick Room, I believe. Yeah, there's 2 more turns of Trick Room. This turn and the next turn. Since I know that there are 2 more turns, even if they protect their King Gambit this turn from my Spore, they won't be able to protect the following turn without risking a double protect. And I know that they can't Terra Grass because Pelipper are already Terra'd Ghost, and I know that they're not Safety Goggles King Gambit because I saw the Life Orb. So in this position, I'm thinking I've got this game under wraps, but I actually think there were ways that I could have lost this game. Because remember that Amoonguss can't do any damage to Archaludon and King Gambit because they're both Steel types. I only have Sludge Bomb. And my last Pokemon is Politoed, which its only attacking move is Weather Ball. And if the rain ends, that's a 50 base power normal type attack. And Trick Room is still up. So my Archaludon gets outsped by both of their Pokemon. I can protect my Archaludon with Rage Powder, but I'm worried that the King Gambit would one-shot my Amoonguss with Iron Head, and then Archaludon would knock out my Archaludon. So now that I put the King Gambit to sleep, with this last turn of Trick Room, so I decide to Electro Shot into the King Gambit, I'm like, at +4 special attack, it's got a KO. And then actually, instead of Rage Powdering, I can Spore, since it's the last turn of Trick Room. Now this play could have lost me the game, because if they use Sucker Punch this turn, into my Archaludon, they would have just knocked me out. And then I just would have been screwed. So even though I have a +4 special attack Archaludon, they've done barely any damage to my team. Well, they knocked out my Gothitelle and they got my Archaludon to 1 health. I was actually like this close to losing this game. If they just Sucker Punch there, I would have lost. But now I can safely Rage Powder my Amoonguss and Electro Shot the King Gambit, which just protected. So now my Archaludon will be at +5 special attack. Dude, Archaludon popped off in this game. They actually switch out their King Gambit. This was a good play by them. They sacrificed their Archaludon. The Pelipper stays asleep. It's actually guaranteed to sleep that turn. So now I'm feeling pretty good, because now I can just Rage Powder for the rest of the game and just knock everything out with Archaludon. And that's exactly what happens. I finally get my +6 special attack Archaludon. Archaludon's special attack won't go any higher. I wouldn't be surprised to see that text on a bulky Assault Vest Archaludon, maybe with like a Sinistra on your team. But I'm using a no bulk, max speed, max special attack Archaludon, and I just was able to use 7 Electro Shots, about to be 8 Electro Shots in one game. Oh, I guess I used Dragon Pulse instead of Electro Shot. I should have used Electro Shot. And that was my first win. So in this game, I'm fighting a Weezing team. This team is very similar to the one that, I'm pretty sure this is similar to the one that Wolfe Glick brought to the Baltimore Regional. So this matchup's a little tricky, because the Weezing shuts down Drizzle, which is super important on Politoed, and it also shuts down Shadow Tag. It also shuts down Guts on Ursaluna, so the Flame Orb is actually a hindrance, unless I'm using Facade. But with only 5 seconds left, I'm like, I gotta pick my team, and I decide to lock in these 4. Now, I bring Ursaluna this match. I found out while in my testing with this team, playing Showdown, that Ursaluna is like the missing piece to beating this type of team, this architect of team with Toadscruel and Galarian Weezing. Because Toadscruel just wants to click Spore on everything, but when my Ursaluna gets burned and it can't be put to sleep by Spore, it's free to, even though abilities are turned off, I'm free to just click Facade into like basically everyone except for Goldango. And Facade actually one-shots Toadscruel. It doesn't one-shot Weezing, but it one-shots the Toadscruel. And I definitely got multiple Facade one-shots on Toadscruels while testing. So I know that the Toadscruel is Covert Cloak. They're always Covert Cloak on this team, so there's no point in me trying to fake it out. Instead, I decide, let me just fake out the Weezing so that I can at least prevent the Weezing from doing damage to me, because I know they're gonna click Spore. At this point, I've accepted it, that like something's getting put to sleep. Technically, I could have protected Archaludon and then Parting Shot into one of them, but I mean, actually, that would have been a good play, because what that does is that gets in Ursaluna, gets it burned, and then I can Facade, and then switch Archaludon into Incineroar, who has Safety Goggles. So actually, that would have been a better play than what I ended up doing, because now my Archaludon is asleep. It's burned 1 turn of sleep at least. That's not good. Fortunately, Archaludon isn't like crazy good into the rest of their team. Like, they have a Garchomp, they have Kilowattrel, which outspeeds. They do have Goldango though. They actually switch out Toadscruel here That's right. I switch in Archaludon to Ursaluna because I know they're not going to click Spore into that slot. And I'm not surprised that they didn't click Spore into Incineroar because they expect it to be safety goggles. But now I get a parting shot into the Weezing. They're usually choice specs, and that looked like choice specs damage. I bring in Politoed because Archaludon is sleeping. Now I know that Drizzle doesn't activate, so Weather Ball is useless. It's just a 50 base power normal type attack. But I didn't bring Politoed in here for Weather Ball. I brought Politoed in to do something far more sinister. I double protect, but I take a little bit of burn chip, but their Incineroar just clicked Fake Out, which means now with my Politoed, which I believe has some speed investment. I forget the EVs I gave it, but I expect it to outspeed Incineroar, and I decided to Facade instead of high Headlong Rush. I don't know if Headlong Rush kills, because since Guts isn't active, I don't get the attack bonus, but I Encore the Incineroar into Fake Out. So now they have a -1 special attack Weezing on the field, and a Incineroar which can't do anything except for click Fake Out. So they click Dazzling Gleam, it doesn't do a lot of damage, and I get my boosted Facade up, which actually keeps the Weezing alive, which is actually better for me. If it knocked out there, they get a free switch in, but now they're in a position where I can outspeed and KO their Weezing with Weather Ball, and then I can get a free Facade into their left slot, unless they have Goldango in the back. And so that's exactly what I do. Try to Weather Ball the right slot. They switch Incineroar out into the Toedscruel, which, as I said earlier, when I was testing, this thing was getting one-shot by my non-Guts boosted Facade consistently. But Weezing also switches out. So now Drizzle activates and Guts is active. So this Toedscruel is gone, and I see Goldango is their last one. So they could have just switched Goldango into the left slot, been immune to the Facade, and then Toedscruel into the right slot, and just taken a Weather Ball. And they actually would have been in a great position if they made that play. But since they made this play, I get a one-hit knockout and half of the health of the Goldango. So they bring in Incineroar, so they get a attack drop on my Ursaluna. But they also have Fake Out. So I just decide to make the play I made last time, which is double protecting, and see what they go for. Now this was pretty risky, because they could have Fake Out and then Nasty Plot with Goldango after the double protect. So, okay. Last time this exact situation happened, where I double protected and they faked out, I encored the Incineroar into Fake Out. So I'm thinking they're not going to let me do that again, right? Like, they're gonna switch the Incineroar into Weezing. So predicting that, I don't encore Incineroar, and instead, I think I clicked Headlong Rush there, and then I Weather Ball into the Goldango because it did half of its health. The other Weather Ball did half of its health, so this one should knock it out. This felt like a safe play. Like, they're obviously going to switch out their Incineroar, but they actually protect the Goldango and don't switch the Incineroar. So I easily could have just encored. Did they just outspeed me, or wait, did I miss something? Or did my Weather Ball come out into the protect? No, they outsped me. Wait, was it a speed tie? Didn't I outspeed them earlier? I think that was a speed tie. That actually makes it so much funnier. So yeah, they make this play instead. So I get the knockout onto the Weezing, but now they get Incineroar back in for free, and they get to intimidate my Ursaluna again, and they get to pressure with Fake Out. But it's a 2v4 right now. My Archaludon's asleep, but my Incineroar has a good amount of health. So I'm thinking and I still have Terra. I'm thinking there's like no way I can lose this game. But I know that the rain is gonna end soon. So it would be bad if I just kept Politoed in. And the obvious play is to protect, right? But if I protect and they Nasty Plot, I'm in a bad situation. which is what they do. See, they nasty plot, and they don't fake out. Instead, they knock off, and knock out my Ursaluna. So, I guess I would have been in like the same situation if I had protected Politoed there. Well, no, because, okay, I'm in a better situation here. Because Rain is still active. So if I bring in Politoed now, Rain ends like next turn or something, and then I'm in a bad situation. So now is the time to bring in our Chaladon and try to use these sleep turns and wake up. Now, I've already used one turn. I have a chance to wake up this next turn. Pretty decent chance to wake up in this turn right here. I attempt to Electro Shot the Goldango, and then with my Incineroar, I double up the Goldango. I don't know why. I guess to cover for if I stayed asleep. Since Goldango's +2, it's my highest priority to get rid of it. So yeah, I doubled up into the Goldango to cover for if I stayed asleep, I'd still be able to knock out the Goldango, but I wake up. So now the game is wrapped up. Their only Pokemon is Incineroar. I still have Politoed in the back. And yeah, that's the game. That was my second win. I want to highlight this game for sure, because I make one of the best plays I've ever made in competitive Pokemon. It doesn't seem like a insane play. I'll get to it. Okay. So, looking at the team, I'm seeing a Hisuian Samurott. I'm thinking, what does this thing do? I've never fought a single one of these when testing this team, but I also see Goldango. So I'm like, I gotta bring our Chaladon. Our Chaladon also has a great matchup into the rest of their team. Nothing on their team can resist both Electro Shot and Flash Cannon. They lead Samurott Annihilate. So I'm thinking, if you're gonna lead Annihilate not next to Mousehold, is this Scarf Annihilate? And then I'm wondering what item the Samurott is, what Terra type the Samurott is, and it's just too much to think about because I've never fought like a single Hisuian Samurott, and so I'm thinking of all these things, all these possibilities. I'm like, what if it's Scarf Annihilate? What if it's Sucker Punch into my Archaladon and then Final Gambit? Like, if my Archaladon goes down turn 1, game's probably over. I really feel like I need to pick up a KO here, and I'm running out of time, so I just lock in Terra, Electro Shot into the Samurott. 2 seconds, 1 second. I go to fake out the Samurott, but I misclick because time was running so short, and I end up clicking fake out on the Annihilate. So this turn, right now I'm thinking, oh, I'm such an idiot. Oh, I messed up. I'm gonna lose this game for sure. But they end up tearing their Samurott to Poison. I actually thought they were about to tear it to Ghost, and it wouldn't have mattered who I faked out. They tear Poison. I whiff the fake out, and then the Annihilate uses Bulk Up. This is important. Annihilate just went before my Archaladon. My Archaladon is max speed. Annihilate needs to be basically max speed in order to outspeed my Archaladon. So I know that this Annihilate is max speed. I Power Herb, Terra Electric, Electro Shot the Samurott, and fortunately, it one-shots. Now, since they Swords Danced, I did not get punished for whipping that fake out. I one-shot them, they don't do any damage to me, but they do get a bulk up, and I know that they're faster than my Archaladon. I'm actually not feeling too good about the situation I'm in right now, because they just bring in Indeedee here, Indeedee male, which I'm thinking, okay, so it's not Scarf Annihilate, it's probably Scarf Indeedee, or it could be Focus Sash Indeedee. And also Indeedee is a higher base speed stat than my Archaladon. So I'm thinking, well, Annihilate outspeeds, can just bulk up Drain Punch, and then Indeedee outspeeds and will knock out my Archaladon with Expanding Force plus the Annihilate attack. And my Archaladon is like the most important thing on my team, pretty much, to win this game. Just the pressure got to me. I don't know what to say. I completely forgot about what I did the previous turn because I ran out of time and the pressure got to me, and I clicked Electro Shot after I had just used my Power Herb and the rain is not set up. Now, if I had clicked Dragon Pulse, I'm in a great situation here. If I Dragon Pulse and Psychic into the Annihilate, Annihilate's dead. Annihilape's knocked out, and I'm feeling great about this. I'm up 4-2. But no, I misclicked Electroshot. Or not really a misclick, I just wasn't thinking, and now I'm like, well, I'm screwed. Because now they Expanding Force and then Rage Fist my Gothitelle. They get a double knockout. I have Incineroar and Politoed in the back. Incineroar gives Annihilate Defiant boost. They can just Drain Punch my Incineroar since I've already used Terra, and then Politoed just can't do anything. But then I think, how can I knock out this Annihilate? I can't outspeed it. I know that they both outspeed my entire team, because Incineroar and Politoed are both slower than Archaludon, and they both outspeed Archaludon. And then I have a Eureka moment. I'm going to manipulate my opponent into making the play that I want them to make through one of the 7 deadly sins. Greed. I bring in my Incineroar against an Annihilate and Indeedee. I can't fake out because Psychic Terrain is here. I intimidate their Annihilate, giving them a Defiant boost, and I can't Terra. I've already Terra'd. So now they have this +2 attack Annihilate with a juicy Drain Punch into this Incineroar. I just manipulated them into wanting to click Drain Punch when Rage Fist into my Gothitelle is the better play. Always. My Incineroar can't do anything to their +1 defense Annihilate, but they don't realize that I have Protect on my Incineroar. So they Drain Punch into the protected Incineroar, and I find the one single way that I win this game. And I Psychic the Annihilate, knock it out. Cinema. Take advantage of other players' greed. And that is how I found the one way to win that game. Okay. Fighting a pretty standard team. A bunch of threats. Annihilate, Dragonite, Goldango, Rillaboom, and Ursaluna Bloodmoon. And Ninetales to get rid of my rain. So their entire team just counters my team pretty much. On paper, this looks like a horrible matchup, and they lead double ghost, meaning my shadow tag that I just started with and my fake out is useless. I'm thinking this is a horrible lead by me. I'm just in such a bad position. I can potentially get a one-shot on their Goldango here. Because even if the Annihilate outspeeds my Archaludon, it can't one-shot because I have Sturdy. And then so instead of switching Gothitelle out, I actually click Trick Room in order to set my Incineroar and Politoed in the backup for the future. And we see that they bulk up and outspeed my Archaludon, which means that the Trick Room that I just clicked is even better because my Archaludon will outspeed their Annihilate in Trick Room. And then we see my Archaludon goes before Goldango and does what it did all throughout this grand challenge and picks up the one-hit KO on this poor Goldango. What started out as a bad lead by me turned into a great position by me, because now I can Psychic the Annihilate, I can double up into the Annihilate, but then they bring out Rillaboom. So now they have fake out pressure, and it gets a little more complicated. I think it's a good play to double up into the Annihilate, because that way I'm basically guaranteed to get damage into Annihilate, because if they fake out one of them, then the other one attacks into the Annihilate, and they're not gonna fake out and protect, you know, like that would be a weird play. They actually end up Rage Fisting into Gothitelle. Now I can either bring in Politoed or Incineroar, but since Trick Room is up and my Archaludon outspeeds their Annihilate in Trick Room, I bring in the Incineroar here because I have no problem with giving them +1 attack with the Intimidate. So now their Annihilate's at +2 attack, but since my Archaludon can outspeed and then knock it out, I don't have to worry about that. I can just fake out the Rillaboom and target down the Annihilate with my Archaludon. And I believe there are 3 more turns of Trick Room left. So they can't just keep protecting their Annihilate. They're eventually gonna fail a protect. But I actually predict the Rillaboom to switch out, and instead of clicking fake out, I click Parting Shot. So the Annihilate protects, but since I Parting Shotted instead of fake out, I get to bring in my Politoed and turn this snow that they just set up into rain, which will allow my Archaludon to click Electroshot the following turn, even though its Power Herb has already been used. And after that turn of Grassy Terrain Recovery, my Archaludon actually has its Sturdy back intact. So, now that Rillaboom's in the back, I'm a little worried about the Annihilate switching into Rillaboom here. Because I could Electroshot into the Annihilate, but what if they switch into Rillaboom and then it resists the Electro Shot? Yeah. So I actually decide to do a middle ground play where I Encore the Annihilate into Protect. But they do switch out. That does nothing. But I am able to get off an Electro Shot into the Ninetales, which I know that my Archaludon will outspeed because Ninetales will definitely be faster and Trick Room is set up. So I hit the Electro Shot and it one-shots, which means they were not Focus Sash. They were probably Light Clay, if I had to guess. And now there's one more turn of Trick Room. This is important because I know that they have Protect. So I'm thinking you're probably going to Protect the Annihilate here. They also have Fake Out on Rillaboom. Instead of protecting Annihilate, they could just attack and then fake out my Archaludon, because my Politoed with Weather Ball can't one-shot this Annihilate. But then I realize they have 2 Pokemon left, and I have a Politoed. So I decide to bust out the Perish Song. This covers for, I'm pretty sure, every single play they can make, because they could have Wood Hammered the Politoed. They would not have been able to knock out my Archaludon, and I would have been able to Electro Shot their Annihilate. And then Incineroar and Archaludon always beat Rillaboom. Now, if they make the play that they just made, fake out Archaludon, then Rage Fist from the Annihilate can't knock out my Politoed, and I get the Perish Song off. So now at this point, since I have 1 Pokemon in the back, and I have Protect on every single one of my Pokemon, the game's over. I can double Protect this turn, and then the next turn I can switch one of them out, and then on the last turn, I can just click Protect, and the game's over. So this is just a normal Perish endgame, guaranteed win. There's no way for them to win this game at this point, and that's exactly what happens. I double Protect, then I switch into Incineroar on Politoed. I actually end up getting the Electro Shot off into Annihilate there, but it doesn't matter. Rillaboom's has 1 more turn of Perish. I can just Protect, and Rillaboom's Perish count falls to 0, and that's the game. This is one of the rare games where I don't bring Archaludon. I decided to bring Ursaluna. Just looking at the matchup, it helps with Incineroar, Volcarona, Archaludon, and it helps with Annihilate. It's immune to Rage Fist. I'm worried about Beat Up. That's a big thing. I'm worried about Beat Up Whimsicott into Annihilate. So Ursaluna gives me that immunity to Rage Fist. But they lead the Whimsicott Annihilate, which I was worried about because of the Beat Up. So right here I'm thinking, well, Politoed is like my most important Pokemon on my team. I don't have Archaludon, so getting some Perish Trap getting at least 2 Perish Trap KOs is important for winning this game. So I need to keep Politoed alive. I cannot let it get Beat Up Rage Fisted this turn. So I actually switch into Ursaluna immediately and then try to Sludge Bomb the Whimsicott, which I actually really like this play because there's no possible way for them to knock out my Ursaluna this turn unless they're like max attack, Focus Sash, Annihilate, and close combat into the Politoed slot and then Moonblast into it. Because not even close combat would one-shot, I'm pretty sure. But they actually Sunny Day. So switching out my Politoed is an even better play. And then they Taunt. That turn just went amazing for me. I get the Sludge Bomb into the Whimsicott. Turns out they're Focus Sash, so they live, which actually is better for me. But now I have my Ursaluna set up, and I can just threaten the Annihilate, and then while also threatening to KO the Whimsicott. And then as I was worried about, we see the Beat Up come into play. So this gives him, my opponent, +4 stacks of Rage Fist, meaning this Rage Fist is 250 base power, and they use it into the Ursaluna. Now see, my opponent was expecting me to Terra Ghost my Ursaluna because I'm sitting in front of a fighting type. Now that logic makes sense, but there's another layer to that logic, and that's that I know that an Annihilate that doesn't have any attack boosts cannot one-shot my Ursaluna like ever at full health, even with close combat. So I wasn't threatened by that fighting type Annihilate. So I just attack it, and they waste their Rage Fist attack and get double knocked out. Now at this point, I'm thinking this game's over because I'm up 4-2. They've done no damage to me. The only damage that I've taken is from Burn, and I have Perish Trap in the back. 1 Perish Song and the game's over. And so knowing that information, I'm thinking, how do I get Politoed in here? And so instead of switching directly into Politoed, I decide, let me just try to spore with Amoonguss, and if Amoonguss gets hit by an attack, I get a free switch in to Politoed because of the eject button, and I'll have Gothitelle in to threaten Fake Out on the Incineroar, which could have Taunt, or the Dragonite if it shows that it's not Choice Band. And with a Terra Flying, that shows that it's probably not Choice Band. Because if you're Choice Band, you're probably Terra Normal. And we see the Terra Blast actually into Amoonguss, which picks up the one-hit KO. It actually would have been better for me to Terra Fairy there, but they just Parting Shot into my Gothitelle. So now I can bring in Politoed. I threaten Fake Out into both of them, but I also don't know if this is multi-scale or an inner focus Dragonite. And that's like the one way I lose this game, is if it is inner focus, Choice Band, I Fake Out into the Dragonite, they ignore it, and then they double up into my Politoed, I just lose the game. They're not, I don't think they're Covert Cloak Incineroar, so I decided to just Fake Out the Incineroar, don't have to worry about max speed taunt shenanigans, and then click Perish On. Now they Terra Blast, Politoed, that's Choice Band. That's 100% Choice Band. I almost threw this game. If that crit me, I would have lost this game, even though I picked up 2 KOs without them doing any damage to me. And then they are Covert Cloak. So they ignore my Fake Out. This almost went horribly for me, but I didn't lose. The game wasn't lost because now I have one Pokemon in the back. I can just double click Protect, switch one of them out, you know, the usual Perish Trap finisher. Double Protect, switch one of them out, and then click Protect to end the game. That's exactly what I do. Protect again. Gothitelle fails, Politoed succeeds, and that's the game. Dragonite and Incineroar get knocked out by Perish Song, so they forfeit. I'm worried about Tailwind, Typhlosion. I bring my usual 4. They lead Typhlosion, Whimsicott, but I have Archaludon, which has Sturdy, and Incineroar, which resists the Eruption. So I can pretty freely protect Archaludon this turn. They set up the Sunny Day instead of Tailwind, which makes sense because I think they would have outsped. So they're probably Choice Scarf if they Sunny Dayed instead of Tailwind. I knocked off their Choice Specs. Okay, never mind. Sun boosted Terrafire Choice Specs Full Health Eruption. Just did only 120 damage to my Incineroar that doesn't even have an Assault Vest. That is crazy. Incineroar is so broken. Now I can switch in Politoed to set up the rain to further weaken their fire. But they could also Sunny Day again. But they actually end up switching into Rillaboom. And I waste my Electroshot. I don't know why I protected Incineroar. Why did I protect Incineroar? Should have been like a free knockoff. They Moonblast into Incineroar. I switch Archaludon into Gothitelle. And they actually knock out my Incineroar. I was not expecting them to be able to knock out my Incineroar this turn. But now I have both of their grass types trapped because of Gothitelle. And I haven't used my Terra, so I can bring in Politoed. So I bring in Politoed here. Yes, okay. I bring in Politoed, and there's the Perish Trap. That's what we all been waiting for. And the reason for this is that I still have my Terra. So they obviously want to Woodhammer into my Politoed now. So I can bait that and Terra Grass, and then I think I Encore, but they actually attack into Gothitelle. So it actually ended up being a good thing that, what the? Subbed with Prime? Wait, I didn't even know I could get subs. What? Thank you. Thank you, K Dot, for the sub. I didn't even know that I could get subs. What the heck? Thank you. Okay, so I Encore the Rillaboom. So now Rillaboom is Encored into Knockoff. So I kind of wasted my Terra there because he didn't Woodhammer. I was expecting the Woodhammer, but I guess they were expecting a Terra as well. I know that a Knockoff and Moonblast shouldn't be able to KO my Gothitelle. I go for the Trick Room, and I switch Archaludon in. Right, okay. So I think from this point, I figured my best shot of winning this game was Perish Song here. Get these 2 Perish KOs, and then get another 2 Perish KOs. Oh, that's what it was. Okay, they have Sunny Day. I needed to make sure that my Archaludon was in this turn, and then my Gothitelle faints at the same time as them. That way my Politoed gets switched in once their Whimsicott's knocked out, so that they cannot set up the Sun. Because they still have a Typhlosion in the back. So as long as I can get Rain set up on that, it's not that threatening to my Archaludon. This is why positioning is so important for Perish Trap teams, especially with Rain, when you have to consider the Rain. It's just a whole nother thing that you have to consider with positioning. And I think since I think I set up Trick Room last turn, so now my Archaludon outspeeds their Typhlosion, at least it should. So now I get in Politoed. I have 2 full health Pokemon. They have a half health. What the heck? Thank you, Cool Guy 165 for the Prime. A Hype Train. What is going on? We got a Hype Train. What the heck? I appreciate the sub. You are now my 2nd ever sub. So I get Politoed in to set up the Rain. Their last is Sneasler, and then their Typhlosion. Now I'm really glad that I set up Trick Room, because Sneasler's fast, and now I have the Trick Room. Since they're choice specs, their Typhlosion cannot protect, so I can just attack into the Typhlosion with both Pokemon and guarantee a knockout on it this turn. Even if their Sneasler fakes out one of my Pokemon, I would still be getting that knockout. But we don't see a fake out, and I'm able to knock out the Typhlosion and then knock out the Sneasler with Electroshock.
Now Waltz can't perish.
Wait, you can cheer bitch too? I didn't even know subs or bits were activated. Thank you for the 1 bit. I think that's like equivalent to 1 cent. I appreciate that. 4 games remaining. So now I'm fighting a hyper offense, it looks like. Dondozo Tatsugiri team. I have their Dondozo trapped in Shadow Tech, so it can't switch out. And if I can just remove the Dondozo, I'm in a great position. But actually, the Annihilape, since the Annihilape is Ghost type, it's not trapped by Shadow Tag, and it can still switch out. I'm also worried about the Annihilape being Choice Scarf. Usually with these hyper offense teams, it makes sense for it to be Choice Scarf, but I should have considered they have a Tyranitar, so it's probably Safety Goggles, actually. I protect Gothitelle, and they Final Gambit. With my Protect play, I don't get KO'd. My Gothitelle doesn't get KO'd. So now they can Final Gambit my Gothitelle again. And I already used my Power Herb, so I can't Electroshot unless I switch in Politoed. But I'm thinking, is it worth it to let Politoed get KO'd? You know? Because Politoed is so important. But in the end, I decide they want a Final Gambit. So if I do switch in my Politoed here, they Final Gambit my Politoed, knock it out. But then I get an Electroshot into their Dondozo without the Tatsugiri boost. So they do Final Gambit. They exchange all of their HP for my Politoed's HP to one-shot it. But then I'm able to get an Electroshot into their Dondozo without any boosts, and it gets knocked out. Yeah, so they only have 2 Pokemon left. I have 3, all full health. Feeling pretty good. Gothitelle's kind of useless because Shadow Tag, they can't switch anyway with only 2 Pokemon, so I decided to bring in Incineroar, I'm pretty sure. But I don't have Perish Song. If I just had Perish Song, I just click that and win the game. But without that, I have to actually play the game. And they have Archaludon. And so, like... And they haven't used Terra. So it's actually not a free win. So they're probably Focus Sash, which means they probably have Protect. And then they don't have Rain. So the Archaludon is probably Power Herb, which means the Archaludon also has Protect. So I don't know who to fake out. And I decided to fake out the Tatsugiri, who has Terra Stellar, and the Archaludon protects. So I hit the fake out, and they're not Covert Cloak, but I Dragon Pulsed into the wrong slot. So I kind of hedged my bets, right? If I doubled up into Tatsugiri, and they protected Tatsugiri, and they just get a free attack on Archaludon. If I doubled up into Archaludon, they protect, and then Tatsugiri gets a free attack. So with this way, I either get damage onto the Archaludon, or small damage onto the Tatsugiri and prevent the Tatsugiri from... So now the following turn, I switch out Incineroar to get... So I can get Fake Out on Gothitelle active. And then I protect my Archaludon. But they get an accuracy drop. And now I'm like, oh my god, this is the one way I lose this game. Is these Muddy Water accuracy drops. Because now I can miss Fake Out. I double up in the Tatsugiri and I miss Fake Out. And all my worst nightmares are coming true. And of course I save it because I'm like, there's no way. But I outspeed their Archaludon. I'm pretty sure it's a speed tie. Because they are Power Herb Archaludon. And then I knock out their Tatsugiri. Right? But they Electroshot. Except they Electroshot my Gothitelle. Now if they Electroshotted my Archaludon, I think I actually lose this game. Because their Archaludon is full health. Even with that amazing beginning to the game where I only lost one Pokemon and knocked out two of theirs, I would have lost this game if they had attacked my Archaludon. But they didn't. They attacked my Gothitelle. So now I have a full health Incineroar and a +2 special attack Archaludon. So I Fake Out. I have Fake Out here, but they have Protect. So they just Protect here. And now I'm like, okay. If they outspeed me, if it's a speed tie and they outspeed my Archaludon and knock me out, I lose the game still. I still lose the game after all that. Because Incineroar loses the 1v1 to Archaludon. So I still have to win a 50-50. I have to win a coin flip to win this game. If I don't win this speed tie, I lose the game. Now, it was never... I don't think it was ever confirmed if this was a speed tie. Maybe it was at some point and I wasn't paying attention. Because if it is a speed tie, then I've won every speed tie. And I just win again. I knock him to sturdy, but he can't one-shot my Incineroar. And that's the game. That's the game. I'm able to click knockoff and finish off the Archaludon. And with that, 2 games left. But I've reached my goal. My goal was top 500. I'm now top 500. I could just stop playing. And I've gotten my goal. And I'm pretty sure I would have gotten championship points. But I'm like 2 more games. I'm kind of on a roll. I just won like 3 in a row. Like I'm gonna play the last 2 games. First game, the Trick Room team. I bring the usual 4, my usual lead of Archaludon Gothitelle that I've been bringing to most games, a lot of games. They lead Farigiraf and Incineroar. Pretty bad for me because they can fake me out. I can't fake them out. I want to preserve my Archaludon Sash or Sturdy, so I bring in Politoed and protect my Gothitelle to avoid getting knocked off. They actually U-turn, which tells me that they're Assault Vest and Trick Room. Another reason why I didn't want Archaludon out in the field. I felt like Trick Room was coming. So now I Perish Song, because my thought is Incineroar and Farigiraf are both low damage output. So if I can Perish Song, they won't be able to kill me. But the Incineroar has U-turn. So the Incineroar will be able to U-turn out. But the Farigiraf has no way of switching out. They knock off my Citrus Berry, but I can at least bring in Incineroar to lower their Incineroar's damage output. And if they Psychic into my Politoed slot, I take no damage. I fail a double protect and they U-turn. I actually live because of the Intimidate, which is super important. Because if I died there, Farigiraf is able to switch out. Trick Room is still up. Ursaluna's burned. Oh, right. I forgot to show, but I encored their Farigiraf into Nasty Plot. So the Farigiraf has not been able to do damage to my Gothitelle. Otherwise, they would have been able to knock it out with Hyper Voice and Knockoff. Because Knockoff knocks out the Citrus Berry, and then Hyper Voice knocks out the Gothitelle, which would have lived if it got Citrus Berry recovery. So now I let Gothitelle go down, because otherwise it would be useless. You see that it's actually not even Throat Spray, Citrus Berry. So I think there's 1 turn of Trick Room left. Or did Trick Room just end? Oh, shoot, I wasn't paying attention. I bring in Politoed. Yeah, this is the last turn of Trick Room. I expect a Headlong Rush or an Earthquake into my Incineroar. So I Terra Ghost to live. And to be immune to a potential Fake Out from their Incineroar. If they do end up clicking Fake Out into my Politoed, not the Incineroar, whatever. And we see a Headlong Rush into Incineroar. And I live on 4 health! 4! Oh my god, the EVs. This is why EVs are so important. Because if I got knocked out there, I lose this game. But now I have Incineroar in the back. At least I think I lose. I think I lose from this situation. I actually don't remember how the rest of the game goes. Okay, yeah, Trick Room's over now. So I have a free Weather Ball into their Ursaluna, which they're at -1 special defense, so it will one-shot. I think even without Headlong Rush, it would one-shot. But I see a better play. Because I expected a switch out from the Ursaluna. Now, and also, okay, my Archaludon cannot one-shot the Incineroar. So by encoring it into Fake Out, they're now in a position where Incineroar is doing nothing on the field. They have no way of setting up Trick Room. So Ursaluna, is a liability. I still have my Power Herb on my Archaludon. So I expect them to switch out the Incineroar into Ursaluna because they're locked into Fake Out. And they do just that. They switch Incineroar into Ursaluna. The Goldango gets hit by an Electro Shot, which based on that damage, it actually would have lived, like from full health, it would have lived a Terra Electric. Also, there's no Life Orb, so yeah, they definitely would have lived a Terra Electric Electro Shot. So it's actually a good thing that they didn't lead Goldango this game. So I get the one hit KO, right? So they're threatening Fake Out on both of my Pokemon. But okay, I cover the Fake Out because they can Fake Out one of my guys. They can't knock out either one of them. So I get one guaranteed attack into the Goldango, knock it out, that's the game. My opponent forfeits. My last game of the tournament. And it's up against a pretty standard Regulation H team. It's like a balance rain. So I'm thinking, okay, I see a Goldango. I'm leading Archaludon. That's like always my thought. Their only ghost type is Goldango. So Gothitelle Archaludon looks amazing. Because if they don't lead Goldango, then they have two Pokemon that are trapped. If they do lead Goldango, I'm one-shotting that thing with Electro Shot. So I go with my normal standard core 4. They lead Incineroar, Goldango. This was a super common lead that I ran into a lot. Goldango, Incineroar, basically, they're threatening me with Fake Out. So I always want to protect my Archaludon, usually, to block that Fake Out. If they don't click Fake Out, if they like Nasty Plot and then maybe they Fake Out my Gothitelle instead, then I'm like way behind. And so I found that it's actually, my best play is usually to just try to attack the Archaludon, I mean the Goldango, and then switch into Incineroar. What that does is, if they protect the Goldango this turn, they won't be able to protect the following turn, and then I can knock off into them. So even if like I waste my Power Herb, I can knock off into the Goldango. And this also refreshes my Fake Out pressure for the following turn. And I found that like a lot of players actually don't click Fake Out into Archaludon very frequently, like we see right here. So they end up not clicking Fake Out at all. And I get a free Terra Electric Power Herb Electro Shot. I hit into the Goldango and we get the one shot. And at this point, I'm like, I did it. I did it. I had 5 games left in my global challenge and I won all 5 of them. To go from, I think I was at like 1580, 1590 rating to a final rating of 1638. A final global placement of 232nd and a NA placement of 74th. And I won my first ever championship points towards the World Championships. In my first ever online tournament. Thank you for the follow, LJ Hartman. I appreciate that. All I have to do is not choke. That's all I have to do. Let's see what happens. You like that timing? You like that little cinematic YouTube intro? I don't know. So, another great turn for me. I protect the Rillaboom's attack, and I get a knockoff into their Assault Vest. So now they have no Assault Vest, and I'm +1. I'm thinking my Dragon Pulse should KO the Rillaboom, so I just go for that. And then I switch Gothitelle back in to try to trap their Rillaboom, and the Archaludon, of course, and also get Fake Out pressure again. We see that they Terra their Archaludon to Electric, and they Grassy Glide my Archaludon to break my Sturdy, but the Dragon Pulse, I don't know why it's lagging a bit. The Dragon Pulse does KO, and then they Electro Shot into my Gothitelle. My Gothitelle's very bulky. It will live that, unless it crits, I believe. Oh wait, no. Oh, I forgot about this. Yeah, they actually target the Archaludon, and because of the Grassy Glide damage, it knocks me out. And so now I'm a little worried because I've used my Terra, right? So if I bring out Politoed, I activate the Rain for them. If I bring out Incineroar, their last is their Incineroar. My Incineroar is slow. I went from a very winning position to now I'm at risk of this Archaludon just sweeping the rest of my team. I don't have any good answers for it. I'm thinking, oh, maybe I can knock out the Archaludon with Incineroar, but they're at full health. I realize that I think my best odds of winning this game, because their Incineroar is also at full health, my best odds of winning this game, I think it's Perish Song. I switch in Incineroar, and I protect, because they have Fake Out Pressure, and I expect them to try to Electroshot my Politoed. They end up clicking Fake Out into the Politoed because they're worried about Perish Song, and then Electroshot. Now, they used Taunt on their Incineroar, turn 1. If their Incineroar is faster than my Politoed, then they can taunt my Politoed, and I lose the game. That's it. Even though I started out in a good position, really good position at the beginning of this game, if their Incineroar is faster than my Politoed, I lose this game, which would just be heartbreaking. It all comes down to how fast their Incineroar is. Now, most people that run Taunt Incineroar run like really fast, like max speed. So let's see what happens. Perish Song comes out before the taunt. Now, they do taunt because they probably are fast Incineroar, but not max speed Incineroar. I can't protect Politoed because it got taunted, so I switch Politoed out into Archaludon. Archaludon gets knocked out. Oh my god, wait. I forgot it ended like this. Okay, so I don't have a guaranteed win because of the taunt. If my Politoed wasn't taunted, I double protect, I protect both, guaranteed win. Because Politoed was taunted, I have to switch Politoed into Archaludon. Archaludon got knocked out. My Incineroar got taunted. So now, they knock out my Incineroar because I just protected my Politoed. There's one more turn left. I just protected my Politoed. This entire game, my last game of the Global Challenge, the game that determines whether I'm top 300 or I end up at like number 500, I don't know, is a double protect that I just got, and I kind of just blew past. But yeah, it came down to a double protect, and I got the double protect. I can't believe it. Oh man. For sure one of the happiest moments of this entire GC for me. Perish Song knocks out Incineroar and Archaludon, and that's the game. I finished with a rating of 1648.488, using all 45 of my battles. Right here, I'm at 221. My final ranking ended up being, I think, 232. That was my global challenge. I had so much fun. I can't wait to compete in the next one, January 9th, that weekend. Thank you, everyone who tuned into the stream. Thank you to Cosmic Heat, Cool Guy 165 for the Prime subs, my first subs. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the follows. And have a good night. Peace.